What's good, YouTube, and welcome to my house. And we're doing Simorgh today. As some of you who have been following my channel for a while, or the Big-Al-YGO channel for a while, know that Simorgh is my guilty pleasure deck. It's a deck that, as soon as it came out, I knew I wanted to make the best of it and see what different techs worked. And some of you may be acutely aware that on my first Simorgh deck profile I mentioned, if only this deck got a link monster to make everything better. Well, here he is, and I call this deck the Simorgh deck profile with the most longevity. I haven't used any infinite loops in this deck, and I've taken ban lists into consideration as well for the future. But without further ado, this is a pure Simorgh build, and my options and cards I'd rather play will be shown to you. This is a more serious build than the last one, but we are going to do our best to go through it. So, starting off, 3 copies of Bird of Bringing. This is your searcher of the deck if it's normal summoned. When it's normal summoned, you can add any small card from your deck to your hand, and all of the small birds carry the same effect as if your opponent has no monsters, has no cards in their spell and trap zones. You can special summon them from the graveyard in defense position and banish them when they leave the field. However, the same turn you use that effect, you can only summon winged beast monsters. So you've got to be very careful with that. But this is your searcher, it's your rota. You need to play 3 of this guy. 3 Bird of Beginning. This is probably my favourite one in the deck because you can link it off to go into Simorgh or Almirage, and also combined with that, you normal summon it. You can activate the effect to normal summon additional Simorgh monster in addition to your normal summon or set. So if you normal summon this, you can gain the effect, and then you can link it off for an Almirage or a Simorgh or something, and then you'll still be able to normal summon. So the play I like to do, if you've got nothing else in your hand, is you normal summon Bird of Beginning, apply its effect, link it off for a Simorgh or something like that, use its effect to bring it back in defense position, and then you've got 2 monsters on the field to tribute summon one of your bigger birds using the additional normal summon that Bird of Beginning gave you. It's a staple card in the deck. Now, we were playing less of this before, but now we're maxing out on our Simorgh cards. We are playing free Calamity. Not the Calamity you all know and love. This isn't the True King, but it is your Foolish Burial. So if it's normal summoned, you can send any Simorgh card from your deck to the graveyard. This can be the monsters, this can be the spell or traps, and it gives you additional material basically for a link summon, which is pretty fantastic. This guy is how you get into your big Simorgh link monster the easiest, combined with the Bird of Beginning. I don't really want to be playing 3 of this, but you kind of need to now. You can bump it down to 1 or 2 depending on what other cards you play in the deck. Instead of this, I could probably play a couple copies of Cock-a-Doodle-Doo, because it's a level 5 winged beast you can reveal with the field spell and you can special summon it. So that would be my alternative there. But it's not without its uses. If it's normal summoned, you can target a card in your opponent's spell and trap zone and return it to the hand. And it also carries the same effect of all the baby Simorgh cards to bring itself back from the graveyard. Now for the big birds, we've got 2 Lord of the Storm. This guy can't be targeted by spell or trap cards or effects, as long as it was tribute summoned. And also, when a spell or trap is activated, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck by tributing a wind monster. So that shuffling effect, non-destruction removal, can come in handy as well. And because this is a quick effect, you can use it on both your turn and your opponent's turn to really clear their board. And not only that, is if a winged beast monster is destroyed by battle while this guy's in the graveyard, it can just add itself back to the hand. So it's really, really good that happens. However, if you bring this guy out with the special summon of the link monster, just bear in mind it will be able to be targeted. However, if you summon it to its zone, then you won't have that problem. So that sort of mitigates the tribute summon restrictions, if that makes sense. Okay, 2 Simorgh Darkness. This guy can bring himself out of the hand or graveyard if you tribute summon a dark or wind monster. And it has that same sort of problem solving card text that Diabolos has, which is pretty fantastic. This guy can negate spell or trap cards by attributing a Wind Wing Beast monster. And it destroys the card as well, which is pretty fantastic. And also, these guys are really big, 2,900 each respectively. They're really big guys. I've got one copy of Ancestry. This is a classic level 8. This guy, his on-field effect allows you to tribute summon wind monsters with one less tribute than required. He counts as a normal monster in hand, and if you tribute summon him by tributing only wind monsters, you can bounce any 2 cards your opponent controls back to the hand. I'm not sure if this card has been errated in the future, in recent days, to make it target, and I'm not sure if it does target, but there's no mention of targeting on the effect, so this, I mean, non-targeting removal is great, but even if it does target, it's not the worst thing in the world. This is Dark Simorgh. This is a nice meme card, it's a nice classic card, but we're not playing Divinity, we're going to be playing Dark Simorgh. I'm just waiting for it in the post. Dark Simorgh prevents your opponent from setting any card in the field, and that can be a real pain in the arse for flip-based decks to deal with, because sometimes they only have to set a monster on the field and set some back row, and that's their only plays. But if you drop Dark Simorgh on them, they can't really do anything. You can summon it off of the big link monster, and not to mention if you side in cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance as well, then it's good night Irene, really. This is just a test, one copy of Windrose the Elemental Lord. I could swap it out for this Simorgh level 7 instead, but Windrose you can reveal off of the field spell as well, and it's a nice different way to blow up your opponent's back row. Whilst you have your baby Simorghs in the graveyard, have five wind monsters in the graveyard, bring this out, blow up the back row, bring them out, and then just OTK your opponent like that. I haven't put it into much play, but it's just something I like to play around with. One copy of Apex Avian, because it's a negate that you can bring off of the link monster. One barrier statue of the Stormwinds. It's something that if you have nothing else, you can summon this off of the Simorgh link monster, and this prevents your opponent from special summoning until they basically get rid of Stormwinds, because we all know how the wind attribute is the least represented and played attribute currently. Pardon me, sorry, I'm a bit ill. This is my sort of special summon package, triple turquoise warbler. I'd probably rather be playing Cockadoodle-Doo instead of this, but it can summon itself. And also the sapphire swallow. So this can synergize quite well with the level 1 Simorgh, as well as the other Lyrilusk, and it can just help you swarm the field in case you need to. Triple Elbows, this is kind of the heart and soul of the deck. You can tribute summon for one less by revealing any level 5 or higher Wind Wing Beast monster in your hand. And if you control a Wind Wing Beast monster, you can just normal summon a Wing Beast monster. It has those 2 effects, it's really good. Plus the effect that all Wind Winged Beast monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense pushes your big Simorgh birds up to 3,200 attack, which is nothing to be sniffed at. Accompanying those with one terraforming, of course. Triple Simorgh Onslaught. This card can search your Dark and Wind Simorgh monsters, as well as being able to banish itself from the graveyard to reduce the levels of all monsters in your hand with the same name as a Winged Beast monster in your hand by 1 until the end of the turn, which is pretty fantastic. So by discarding a Winged Beast monster, you can add any 2 Simorgh monsters with different attributes from your deck to your hand. So it's going to be a Dark and a Wind monster all the time. You can add Dark Simorgh, you can add any of the Wind Simorgh babies as well. It's pretty fantastic. One Repulsion, it's basically a opponent's sided giant Trunade for this same discard cost as Onslaught, and also it carries the same graveyard effect of Onslaught, reducing the levels of monsters in your hand of the same name as a revealed Winged Beast monster by 1 until the end of the turn. Now I'm playing triple trade-in because I'm running a lot of level 8 monsters. You can cut a trade-in and add 2 desires. You know, 2 trade-in, 2 desires. It's a ratio I like to use with decks that use level 8 monsters, but for the purpose of this video, I wasn't able to find any of my desires, so we're just going with triple trade-in. One Foolish Burial to stack your graveyard up even more for your Elemental Lord, or just bringing out your baby Simorgh monsters. And 3 Harpy's Featherstorm as our only trap card we're playing, because this card can shut down your opponent's turn if you draw it, and it can be activated from the hand if you control the Harpy Conductor Link monster or any Harpy monster for that reason. Now, moving on to the extra deck. 2 copies of Simorgh, Bird of Sovereignty. This card is busted. So it can't be used as link material, but your opponent cannot target this card or any winged beast monster it points to with card effects. If it would be destroyed by battle, you can destroy any other Simorgh card you control instead. That includes the field spell if you really need to. And also, at the end of the turn, you can special summon a winged beast monster whose level is equal to or lower than the total number of unused spell or trap zones on the field. So essentially, as long as there are 4 spell and trap zones unused, you can summon a barrier statue out of your deck like that, or or a number of the big birds. Going first, this card is really fucking oppressive. Excuse my French, but we are not child friendly here. Sorry. But because this triggers during each end phase, not just your own, it's really powerful, this card is. But at the same time, the only card that's really kicked off with this is Mist Valley Thunderbird, and that's not a once per turn card which enables loops, so what can you do? 1 copy of Wind, this is basically your ladder link monster. 1 copy of the Desperate Doom Eagle. This card can punch out some impressive damage if your opponent doesn't have a lot of graveyard set up. It can essentially double its attack while your opponent has no monsters in their graveyard. And it also has a quick effect that allows you to shuffle 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard back into the deck. So that's really fantastic too. Harpy Conductor, really just for the synergy with Harpy's Feather Storm. Nightmare package, we've got a Phoenix, a Cerberus and a Unicorn. If you use your Simorgh graveyard effects, you probably won't be able to bring these guys out, but you rarely need to go into them. These are normally a turn 2 or 3 play if you need to. The 1 Rubber Band Shooter, sometimes you really need that extra normal summon, and even though it locks you into synchro monsters after using this, sometimes you just really need that tribute summon as opposed to your big Simorgh link monster, but that's kind of what you want to go for most of the time. The 1 copy of Great Fly to help boost your wind monster's attacks as well. The Linkuriboh and the Almirage, these guys are staples in the deck. I shouldn't really need to explain why. You link them, you link your baby Simorghs off and then you bring them back, so you've got 2 free monsters on the field basically going first. 1 Avramax, this card is fantastic, I love it. 1 Borreload, it's a cheap alternative to Borrel Sword in case you can't get to the OTK range. And 1 Dingirsu because it's a rank 8 and I think it's the best rank 8 currently in existence. But yeah, thank you for dealing with this deck profile too. I call it Simorgh 2 Electric Boogaloo. It's been putting in a lot of work online, obviously. I can't really do much now that we don't have any local tournaments here in the UK. But I'm doing my best to keep pushing out content, and I'll be bringing an updated Cubic deck profile for you guys, which I hope you'll enjoy, which includes the brand new support from Dual Overload. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that, and that has been Al from Eggs Files, and I will see you in the next video.